niggas don't break.
Girls who send nudes. Every woman who sent nudes, please show the bottom of your foot in the spread eagle picture. There's something about the bottom of your feet. When I see that, I'm complete. If the bottom of your feet ain't in the spread eagle,
thank you, Calico. Made this 100 on the comedy side of the game. Appreciate that.
Bottom of the feet. I like to look at the bottom of the feet in spread eagle picture.
Spread eagle? Yes, the song.
What you talking about? I don't know how to spread eagle. Well, bitch, get a selfie stick. You ain't got nothing else to do with your body.
Why do chicks even say they don't know how to do shit? When you become over 30, you know how to do every fucking thing. But I'm saying when you get over 30,
you spread eagle with the asshole in the bitch. I know that's some shit that niggas say. I'm a bold nigga. I know what I like, bitch. Let me see how flexible your body is.
All y'all.
Nigga said bold bitch, right?
I want to see everything. I like women bodies.
I don't fuck with no bitch who ain't got no beauty bar. And I mean what the fuck I say. I don't like the whore if she ain't got no beauty.
What I don't like, because I got a big dick, right?
I'm talking what? Big. Like, me?
Like my size or big?
Yeah, I got a big old bitch I fuck with. And I have told her, please take that belly chain. You can't have on a belly chain if you a big bitch. You can't do it. You are.
Hey man, shut up, Corey.
When I told her to take the chain off, she said, what's wrong with the chain? I said, bitch, chain snatch. Your chain is full of sweat and silk. Please, take the chain off. She had little bells and balls on the chain. So I gotta hit this chain when I'm fucking her. I gotta fuck this bitch soft as I can. So I don't hit a chain. I'm in this bitch pussy like. She's like, give it to me. I was like, bitch, I don't want to hit a value.
What's the noise? What's the noise that it is?
Pussy wet though. That's why I fuck with her. But that belly chain on a big bitch was too distracting. You talk about why your dick ain't hard. That chain, bitch. You might well cut the TV off.
Stupid, boy.
You can cut on the impeachment, boy. That chain.
What's the noise going on? What's the noise?
That's that wet pussy sound.
Tonight, the president's bitter new attack, lashing out at Democrats saying they treat him unfairly and singling out House Speaker Nancy Pelosi.
She hates all of the people that voted for me and the Republican Party.
The deepening impasse over the Senate trial, plus what the president says tonight about a so-called Christmas present from North Korea. Thousands of anti-government protesters in Hong Kong take to the streets and shopping malls on this Christmas Eve. Police beating the demonstrators and firing tear gas in violent new clashes. The mystery in Idaho, 2 children missing for months. Their mother and her husband never reporting it to police. The husband's first wife found dead, but the police are saying tonight. Royal Christmas. 98-year-old Prince Philip is home from the hospital, but the Queen is raising eyebrows tonight over who is missing from the family photos in her Christmas message. We'll tell you the reason. The remarkable rise of a young man who overcame his challenges. How his life has changed since showing America and the world that he's got talent. Plus, one family's Christmas spectacular. The light show you won't want to miss.
This is NBC Nightly News with Lester Holt.
Good evening, I'm Krista Welker in for Lester. On this Christmas Eve, President Trump is sharpening his attacks against Democrats as the standoff over the impeachment process intensifies. Speaking from his Mar-a-Lago resort, the president accused House Speaker Nancy Pelosi of hating the entire Republican Party. And the president also addressed North Korea's ominous warning of a Christmas surprise. All of it creating a sharp contrast to its holiday greetings to troops overseas. Chief White House correspondent Hallie Jackson has the latest from West Palm Beach.
On this Christmas Eve, the president's making his own list of who's nice, like Mitch McConnell,
Very smart guy, very good guy, and a very fair guy.
and who's not, like Nancy Pelosi.
She's doing a tremendous disservice to the country. She hates the Republican Party. She hates all of the people that voted for me.
It's a familiar refrain from the president, frustrated as negotiations over a Senate impeachment trial appear to be on a holiday hiatus. Democrats back the House Speaker as she holds off on sending those articles of impeachment to the Senate until she's confident that process will be fair. Still, the president insists it's Republicans who have the upper hand.
We're in a very good position. Ultimately, that decision is going to be made by Mitch McConnell, and he will make it. He has the right to do whatever he wants. He's the head of the Senate.
The trial start date in question here at home, and overseas, questions on the timing of something else. The so-called Christmas surprise North Korea's been hinting at for weeks, ever since officials there released these photos of Kim Jong-un on horseback visiting a sacred site, seen as a sign Pyongyang was plotting an aggressive move.
We'll find out what the surprise is, and we'll deal with it very successfully. Let's see what happens.
U.S. military and intelligence officials are on alert for a possible long-range missile test, with new satellite photos showing North Korea expanding a factory used to produce those missiles. The president downplaying that Christmas gift threat with a quip.
Maybe it's a nice present. Maybe it's a present where he sends me a beautiful vase as opposed to a missile test.
Also this week, as part of its ongoing legal fight with former White House counsel John McGahn, the House Judiciary Committee is now suggesting if potential testimony reveals new evidence, they may consider new articles of impeachment against President Trump. But right now, Kristen, that seems highly unlikely.
Hallie Jackson traveling with the president. Hallie, thank you for that. Overseas now, there was new violence in Hong Kong on this Christmas Eve as anti-government protesters clashed with police in a shopping mall and on the streets. NBC's Erin McLaughlin has the latest.
Tonight in Hong Kong, on the eve before Christmas, clashes one of the city's luxury shopping malls. Christmas shoppers watch in shock as plainclothes police officers in black and green jackets beat back anti-government demonstrators. Protesters say it's a fight for greater democracy. Some have sarcastically dubbed Hong Kong's White Christmas. Instead of snow, tear gas and pepper spray. Journalist Jasmine Lung told us the clashes lasted into Christmas Day.
It's 3 in the morning in Hong Kong. You can still see black police officers are still on the streets.
At one point, police vans broke through a makeshift barricade erected in the middle of a high-end tourist hub, only for protesters to go about setting it up again. The cycle of violence now in its 7th month. Observers say protest intensity dipped in December. But with more protests in the works, questions if this latest spike will give protesters momentum going into the new year. Erin McLaughlin, NBC News.
And in this country, there are new questions tonight over the controversial pardons issued by the governor of Kentucky just before he left office. Now the FBI is looking into them as well. NBC's Pete Williams has that story.
Matt Bevin, Kentucky's former Republican governor, is out, but now the FBI is starting to ask questions about his last-minute pardons and sentence reductions for more than 600 people, including convicted murderers and a man accused of raping a child. Chris Harris, a Democrat in the state legislature who called for an inquiry, says he's now been contacted by an investigator. The FBI isn't commenting, but federal officials say there's little choice but to take an initial look with all the public calls for some scrutiny. Among the most controversial actions, the pardon of Patrick Baker, convicted of murder in a home invasion. His relatives hosted a political fundraiser for Governor Bevin last year, but Baker says he didn't kill anyone.
I am innocent. So I just want to thank Mr. Bevin for his courageous actions and allowing me to come home to my family.
Also raising questions, the pardon of a man convicted of raping a 9-year-old girl. The prosecutor says the governor never talked to those involved with the case.
He didn't review Orlando Police Department's file, and he never talked to the victim or her mother. So it really makes you wonder what was he basing his decision off of.
Bevin says there was no impropriety in any of the pardons, that all were based on
We
the
gotta
merits.
crash the
But now
fucking
leaders
boards,
of the
dog.
Kentucky Republican Party
Team
are
has
urging
no
state
fucking
officials to
rebound.
conduct their own investigation. Pete Williams, NBC News, Washington.
And turning now to a bizarre mystery in Idaho. where a frantic search is on for two missing siblings as police say their mother and her husband are refusing to cooperate with the investigation. Steve Patterson reports.
Fucking shot, bro.
Tonight, a grandmother's desperate plea.
Get there. What the fuck?
Authorities say Kay Vallo's grandchildren, 7-year-old Joshua Vallo and 17-year-old Kylie Ryan, were last seen in September near their home in Rexburg, Idaho. Police say their mother Lori Vallo and her husband Chad Daybell are now considered persons of interest after Vallo misled authorities on Joshua's whereabouts. The couple was married just weeks after Daybell's then-wife Tammy was found dead in October. Authorities first believing her death was natural, but have since exhumed her remains for an autopsy after new evidence deemed it suspicious. In Arizona, investigators are also looking at the deaths of Vallo's estranged husband and her brother, both earlier this year. The couple's attorney issued a statement saying, "We look forward to addressing the allegations once they have moved beyond speculation and rumor." Vallo says she's been increasingly worried about the couple's extremist religious views.
They're feeding off of each other in a not in a good way.
A Christmas cut out from loved ones, searching for any sign of hope.
We love you, JJ, and we love you, Tylee, and please come home.
Steve Patterson, NBC News.
And now to the latest in that heartbreaking case of the Texas mother murdered, her newborn kidnapped, and her friend charged in the crime. Tonight, the baby girl now back with her father. Sam Brock has the very latest.
A holiday gift for the family devastated by the loss of Heidi Broussard. Baby Margot now back with her father Shane.
That's the best thing that could ever happen.
But this holiday also brings immeasurable pain. A vigil honoring Heidi's life, but without her parents, who returned to Louisiana for funeral arrangements. Heidi's mother telling NBC News it hit us hard when we arrived home, realizing their daughter would never again walk through the front door, saying, "Mom, we're here." Rachel West is one of Heidi's closest friends.
Devastating is an understatement of what this is.
Now, questions about Heidi's childhood friend Megan Humphrey. The two met at church camp when they were 11. Heidi's body was discovered Thursday in a car trunk on Humphrey's property. Humphrey now faces charges of kidnapping and tampering with a human corpse.
About feeling anger, sadness, confusion, and wanting to understand. I talked to her the whole week I was missing.
A baby registry in Megan's name shows the same due date as Heidi's. Police remain silent on any details of the investigation. Humphrey's attorney did not respond to NBC's request for comment.
Pray for baby Margot.
Palpable pain, only softened by Heidi's memory.
She's a white and complete total darkness. And she's always working.
Sam Brock, NBC News, Austin.
In the Bahamas now, the government's official death toll from Hurricane Dorian stands at 70, but in the wake of massive destruction, local officials believe hundreds more may have died on hard-hit Great Abaco. We sent NBC's Carrie Sanders back to the island where people are still struggling.
Almost 4 months after Hurricane Dorian flattened and flooded Great Abaco Island, life here remains a struggle.
Is there water?
No, there's no water.
No water, no power, no sewer. Every structure on the island still damaged or destroyed.
Where did you ride the storm out? Right inside here.
Matthew Taylor hoped to have a roof on his Murphytown home by now, but on this island, 90 miles long, at its fattest only 4 miles wide, for about 9,000 survivors who are now here trying to rebuild, needed supplies are scarce.
My work is on hold because of nails. Nails. You don't have nails. I'm out of the nails that I need.
The hardware store, like most of this island, looks today as it did the day after the hurricane.
So here in Murphytown you feel forgotten.
Forgotten, say survivors, by the government of the untouched capital of Nassau.
This area here was
Dale Hill is an elected council member.
How do you respond to people who say that the Bahamian government has failed them? The Bahamian government has failed.
The most asked question here is when? When will things in the impact zone get back to normal? Government officials say because we are on an island and it takes a long time to get supplies here, that answer is a moving target, but probably years. While nearly $100 million charity dollars have been donated or committed to help survivors, frustration here mounts amid few visible signs of progress.
Kelly Sanders, NBC News, Great Abaco Island, the Bahamas.
Fuck yeah,
And now
cuz.
to our series, One Nation, stories that prove we're not so divided after all. Tonight, Harry Smith takes us to one of the cities most devastated by the opioid epidemic and shows us how people are determined to bring it back from the brink.
The CrossFit class at this rehab center is more than a workout. It's a test.
Who knows what it feels like to be frustrated? To be ashamed of what you've done? Come on, let it go. Beautiful.
Instructor Dale King grew up in Portsmouth, Ohio, went to college, and then to service. When he got home, he didn't like what he saw. His city, his neighbors, devastated by the opioid crisis. How much has your town changed?
It was, to me, it was almost unrecognizable. I see all these signs,
Shit out of here.
pain clinic, and then there was no businesses anywhere. Help each other up, go!
King was introduced to CrossFit in the military.
Belgian fucking
Now in
Bailey.
Portsmouth, he trains people in recovery, and he provides jobs in his gym and his rental car. Nicole Maynard has fought her way through enough CrossFit classes to fall in love with it. It's not a stretch to say it's helping save her life. Where would you be if you weren't sober now?
That was a bad
I
pass.
really don't know. Probably homeless. I might even be here, like, in bed.
A short walk from Dale's gym, a brew pub opened downtown. Tim Wolf's Army Engineering Unit helped rebuild Iraq. He figured, why not do the same thing in his hometown?
So you come back to Portsmouth, decide you're going to be in the development business. Did anybody say, you're nuts, because this town is over? Yeah, and they're still saying that. So everybody questions the investment all the time, but this is our home, and we have no other choice but you either fix it up or you let it fall down around you.
If not us, who save these vets? Tim now has 18 people in recovery working for him, literally rebuilding the town he and Dale King loved.
This will be the greatest comeback in any small town. I guarantee it.
A new spirit for a city and its people. Harry Smith, NBC News, Portsmouth, Ohio.
A critical investment indeed. Well, Pope Francis celebrated Christmas Eve with a midnight mass at the Vatican attended by thousands. The pontiff telling the faithful that a person's sin does not change God's love for them. In another Catholic tradition, for the first time in more than 200 years, the iconic Notre Dame Cathedral in Paris will not host any Christmas services after it was devastated by a massive fire in April. Just ahead, a royal Christmas. Good news about the health of 98-year-old Prince Philip, while the Queen raises questions about who isn't in the photos during her Christmas message. We'll tell you why. Also, the beloved holiday tradition lighting up one American city. We'll take you there. And A Star is Born, our update on a remarkable young singer. Stay with us. We're back now with the royal family's Christmas. There's news tonight about where Prince Philip will be spending the holiday, who isn't going to be there to celebrate, and who's missing from the photos seen during the Queen's Christmas message. Molly Hunter is in London tonight.
After 4 nights in a London hospital, 98-year-old Prince Philip has walked out just in time for a royal Christmas. Good news tonight for a royal family in need of some holiday cheer. Prince Philip will be home at Sandringham for the Queen's annual Christmas message. She will allude to a rough year, saying, quote, the path of course is not always smooth and may at times this year have felt quite bumpy, but small steps can make a world of difference.
The Queen herself has been dragged into a constitutional crisis over Brexit. So perhaps it's only wise that the mother of the nation kind of sets a very calming note.
Speculation is rampant whether she's talking about the stark divisions over Brexit or maybe divisions within her own family. She's watched a sordid scandal engulf her son Andrew, and she's watched the relationship between her grandsons become strained. On her desk during the televised address, a nod to the royal line of succession. Not pictured this year, Harry and Meghan, and the palace just releasing this sweet video of 4 generations and 3 future kings all making Christmas pudding. And Meghan and Harry are spending Christmas with Meghan's mom in Canada, so tomorrow we'll see Will and Kate, the Queen, and hopefully Prince Philip with the rest of the royal family. Kristen?
Molly, thank you for that report. And next, We'll stop by a house where they take decorating for Christmas to a whole new level. We're back now with the Christmas celebration that is truly a family affair. Blaine Alexander shows us the spectacular display of lights, all for a good cause.
Even from Santa's sleigh, Christmas on the Ludi family's lawn is enough to stop you in your tracks.
I love everything. That's so colorful.
More than just twinkling lights, this is a full-on production with thousands of people filling the streets in a single night.
My favorite part about this beautiful house is all the people that come here to celebrate Christmas.
For decades, it's been a must-see holiday tradition in Columbus, Georgia, all thanks to one Christmas-loving couple, Jerry and Edith Ludi.
Tell everybody we love at first light.
Their son Keith has been helping since he was old enough to walk.
When they're relaxing on the beach, we're hanging Christmas lights on the roof.
So Christmas is literally year-round.
Year-round, yeah.
20 miles of cords and 500,000 lights. The festivities are free, but with one request: help brighten another child's life.
Thank you. Merry Christmas.
The Ludis collect donations for Make-A-Wish Foundation. So far, raising more than $140,000.
We do this for our kids, everybody else's kids, and the kids that are up to, 99.
It gets me emotional. But it's a good emotion because I know the good that comes out of it.
A shining example of the holiday spirit. Blaine Alexander, NBC News.
Merry Christmas!
Columbus, Georgia.
Lighting up people's lives on this holiday. Up next, a brilliant young star and how his life is changing as he inspires. This week, we're ending our program with updates to some of our favorite stories. Tonight, we catch up with a young man who became a huge success this year, finding his voice in more ways than one. Jolene Kent with tonight's Inspiring America.
Cody Lee first captured our hearts with his angelic voice. Then delighted the nation with his big win at America's Got Talent this year.
How does it feel?
It was unbelievable.
And now the 22-year-old musician, who's blind and has autism, is taking his craft to another level.
Las Vegas!
Taking Las Vegas by storm, headlining 6 shows.
I've been so many places, dude. I love the audience.
Cody's mom, Tina, says winning has transformed the way he communicates.
With all of the interviews and the excitement of performing, I think that's what helped give him that confidence and that want to speak to people.
Cody's also back at the piano, writing new songs with his teacher, Sal.
Everything's bound to change. I got a few songs the most exciting about.
And for Mom Tina, his lyrics will be more than just words. She hopes they'll lift other families up too.
All of us parents want is for our kids to be accepted and have opportunities. And I think that's what he opened the door by winning, is he gave all of these kids acceptance and opportunities.
Cody Lee closing out his big year on a high and hopeful note. Jolene Kent.
Fuck yeah, cuz.
What an inspiring young man. Well, that is Nightly News for this Christmas Eve. I'm Kristen Welker, in for Lester. For all of us at NBC News, thank you for watching. Have a very Merry Christmas and good night.
More Americans watch NBC News than any other news organization in the world.
Hey, NBC News viewers, thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Subscribe by clicking on that button down here, and click on any of the videos over here to watch the latest interviews, show highlights, and digital exclusives. Thanks for watching.
He won 3 national championships, and Kareem has a way of affecting winning. Count the bucket, and he's got a free throw coming up as well.
The released transcript of that call has already debunked that central assertion. But that didn't matter. The Democrats simply moved the goalposts and began claiming that there doesn't need to be a quid pro quo for this conversation to serve as the basis for impeaching the president. Speaker Pelosi went further when asked earlier if she would put brakes on impeachment if the transcript turned out to be benign. She responded, quote, "So there you go. If the whistleblower operation doesn't work out, the Democrats and their media, we have candidates, quote, we have many candidates for impeachable offenses." That was her quote. So there you go. If the whistleblower operation doesn't work out, the Democrats and their media assets can always drum up something else. And what other information has come to light since the original false report of a promise being made? We've learned the following. The complaint relied on hearsay evidence provided by the whistleblower. The Inspector General did not know the contents of the phone call at issue. The Inspector General found the whistleblower displays arguable political bias against Trump. The Department of Justice investigated the complaint and determined no action was warranted. The Ukrainian president denies being pressured by President Trump. So once again, this supposed scandal ends up being nothing like what we were told. And once again, the Democrats, their media mouthpieces, and a cabal of leakers are ginning up a fake story with no regard to the monumental damage they're causing to our public institutions and to trust in government. And without acknowledging all the false stories they propagated in the past, including countless allegations that Trump campaign colluded with Russia to hack the 2016 election. We're supposed to forget about all those stories, but believe this one. In short, what we have with this storyline is another Steele dossier. I'll note here that in the Democrats' mania to overturn the 2016 elections, everything they touch gets hopelessly politicized. With the Russia hoax, it was our intelligence agencies which were turned into a political weapon to attack the president. And now today, the whistleblower process is the casualty. Until about a week ago, the need to protect that process was a primary bipartisan concern of this committee. But if the Democrats were really concerned with defending that process, they would have pursued this matter with a quiet, sober inquiry, as we do for all whistleblowers. But that would have been useless for them. They don't want answers. They want a public spectacle. And so we've been treated to an unending parade of press releases, press conferences, and fake news stories. This hearing itself is another example. Whistleblower inquiries should not be held in public at all. As our Senate counterparts, both Democrats and Republicans, obviously understand, their hearing with Mr. McGuire is behind closed doors. But again, that only makes sense when your goal is to get information, not to create a media frenzy. The current hysteria has something else in common with the Russia hoax. Back then, they accused the Trump campaign of colluding with Russians when the Democrats themselves were colluding with Russia and preparing the Steele dossier. Today, they accuse the president of pressuring Ukrainians to take actions that would help himself or hurt his political opponents.
Fuck that, I'm going 12-0 tonight.
Yet there are numerous examples of Democrats doing the exact same thing. Joe Biden bragged that he extorted the Ukrainians into a prosecutor who happened to be investigating Biden's own son. 3 Democratic senators wrote a letter pressuring the Ukrainian general prosecutor to reopen the investigation into former Trump campaign officials. Another Democratic senator went to Ukraine and pressured the Ukrainian president not to investigate corruption allegations involving Joe Biden's son. According to Ukrainian officials, the Democratic National Committee contractor Alexandra Chalupa tried to get Ukrainian officials to provide dirt on Trump associates and tried to get the former Ukrainian president to comment publicly on alleged ties to Russia. Ukrainian official Sergei Lashchenko was a source for Nellie Orr, wife of Department of Justice official Bruce Orr, as she worked on the anti-Trump operation conducted by Fusion GPS and funded by the Democrats. And of course, Democrats on this very committee negotiated with people who they thought were Ukrainians in order to obtain nude pictures of Trump.